Previously on WowGo 3X versus Exway X1 Pro Riot Part 1.
Exway, WowGo boosted Exway, Exway, boosted Exway, WowGo boosted Exway, WowGo boosted, Exway, WowGo, Exway, WowGo, WowGo, Exway,
disgusting,
WowGo, Exway,
disgusting,
Exway, backfired, Exway, orangutan. Exway, WowGo, Exway, WowGo, boosted, WowGo, Exway, orangutan, WowGo, Exway, seismic, Exway, WowGo, Paris, Exway, WowGo. The remote on these two boards are pretty similar. I mean, they even look very similar. This one is WowGo's remote and the other one is Exway's remote. The info that they show are very similar also. There are minor differences, like on the Exway, it shows the percentages. Try to focus. I'll shoot it later. For the battery indicator, it shows you the percentage. And on the WowGo, they said if they show the percentage, it'll be confusing to the user because the number kind of fluctuates. So it just shows 5 bars instead. Doesn't matter. I mean, I think that is a legitimate reason. People do get confused about the number going up and down. But that's what happens on batteries. The remotes, again, I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. Like when you hold them, they feel very similar. The Exway remote is a little bit more sleek. It's thinner. WowGo's remote is a little bit thicker. I don't know which one lasts longer. It feels about the same to me. I don't know, maybe one lasts longer than the other, but I haven't really noticed. Is there anything different about them? Okay, on the WowGo, you can set the unit of measure on the remote, but you can't set the wheel size. On the Exway, you set the wheel size in the app. As for unit of measure, I don't remember. It's probably in the app. I'll have to check. I wouldn't say that one remote is better than the other. They're like equal. I mean, they look so similar. They feel very similar. They're both good. Drive system. Both of these boards use belt drive. So on the Exway, they call it the Riot Kit because you can actually switch it to hub motors on the Exway. So for their belt drive, they gave it a name, Riot. Exway's motors are 5255 in size and 160 kV. I'm reading the label on the motors right now. On the WowGo, I'll have to put the number on the screen because there's no label. But basically, the motors on the WowGo are a little bit smaller than on the Exway, and the Exway's motors are a bit more powerful. The Exway's motors are also way louder. I think these are the loudest electric skateboard motors I've ever heard. WowGo's motors are actually pretty quiet. Their belts are also different. Both of them use 5M belts. That's referring to the size of the teeth. So the other common size is 3M, and 5M is generally considered to be better than 3M. Both of them use 5M, but the WowGo uses wider belts and the Exway uses thinner belts. So in theory, the thinner belts would be more likely to break than the wider belts. So like I said earlier, because they're using belt drive, you can change the wheels. You can change all 4 wheels on both boards. Some people say that you get more torque from belt drive than hub motors. I guess that's true sometimes, but I think the main benefit is that you can use 4 longboard wheels as opposed to 2 in the front and hub motors in the back. Because with hub motors, you're generally using very thin urethane, and that affects the quality of the ride. So both of these use belt drive and they're both really good. One is a little bit more powerful than the other. So the battery, I don't remember the specs. I just know that the WowGo is using a 12S battery. It's 12S2P, I think. I don't know, I have to put the specs on the screen. For watt hours, if I remember right, I think the Exway is like 193 and the WowGo is like 200 something. So if I remember correctly, I think the WowGo should have more battery capacity. I'm not an expert on batteries. The Exway has more torque than the WowGo, but the WowGo is not a weak board either. I mean, this is like on par with boosted board. I mean, and the acceleration is way quicker than a boosted board. Okay, I hope they're recording over there. Ready? Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Woo! Uh-oh. Oh my god. So I would say they both have good torque. If you want the board that has the most torque, and between these two, this one has more torque. So the Exway has a higher top speed. Without turbo, top speed is like 40 kilometers per hour, and on the WowGo, 38 or 39. But basically they're similar. However, with turbo turned on the Exway, they removed the top speed. That doesn't mean that your speed is unlimited. That just means that there's no like arbitrary limit on the top speed. So if you're a heavier person, your top speed is going to be lower. If you're a lighter person, your top speed is going to be higher. But on the WowGo, I think like even if you're a very light person, your top speed is going to be 38 or 39 or whatever they set it to. For me personally, the top speed is a non-issue because I personally don't often ride at the top speed. I know some people do, and you know, if that's your thing, that's cool. For me, it doesn't really matter. I like to ride around 30 kilometers per hour, so both of these boards are more than fast enough for me. But if you care about the top speed, then I guess the Exway is probably more your thing. Also, the Exway is more designed for speed because of the stiff deck and the seismic Aeon trucks. With the WowGo, because it's using a flexi deck, when you're going fast, it might get a little bit sketchy because it's going to bounce around more. Like whenever you hit any kind of bump, it's going to bounce a bit. So generally speaking, if you want to go fast, a stiff deck is safer and easier to control. Both of these boards have really good brakes, but the Exway has really good brakes. On the Exway, if you set the brake settings to the highest, you can literally lock the wheels. I mean, it depends on what wheels you're using also and what kind of surface you're riding on. But if you want to brake so hard that the wheels end up sliding, you can do that on the Exway more than on the WowGo. The WowGo doesn't have bad brakes. Like I said, they both have really good brakes, but you know, it's a little bit softer on the WowGo compared to the Exway. Because of the Hobbywing ESC, you can control how hard you want to brake. It's not like every time you brake, it's gonna brake really hard. It's not like that. You can control how hard you want to brake, and you can even set how hard the brakes are in the Exway's app. For me, I just set it to maximum, and you know, I just use the remote to like if you want to brake a little bit, just pull back a little bit. Although I think for some people, you probably do want to tone down the brakes a little bit in the app, because with Exway, if you put the brake settings at the highest, even if you pull back a little bit, it's still, you know, I wouldn't describe it as braking hard, but it's harder than soft. Anyway, both of them have good brakes. Oh, I gotta stretch again. Okay, I'm gonna stand up. No, I'll sit over here. Both of these boards are about equally portable. I think they weigh about the same. The WowGo, this is actually a prototype. What they told me is that the final version will be a little bit lighter because they're gonna change the material of the rear truck. But when I'm carrying them, the two of them actually weigh about the same. So I would say that they're about equally portable. But as you can see, the Exway is a little bit shorter. And when you turn it on its side, it's also thinner because it doesn't have the large enclosures. They're very similar in terms of portability. But ultimately, I think weight is the biggest factor. Something I forgot to mention about portability, the Exway is actually more portable because you can just turn it off with a remote. When you turn off the Exway with the remote, you can still easily move it. But when you turn off the remote on the WowGo, the wheels are locked and it doesn't really move. It sounds like a small thing, but it's a big thing because it's really annoying. In terms of portability, overall, I would say the Exway is more portable. For water resistance, both of these companies have taken steps to improve the water resistance of the board. I think the Exway is probably more water resistant because it doesn't have enclosures for the battery and ESC. The battery and ESC are inside the deck. With the WowGo, because it's using enclosures attached to the deck, when you flex the deck, it's possible that there might be a small gap between the enclosures and the deck. They do use foam, so that should keep out at least most of the water, but there's always a risk of water getting in. Now, with that said, I wouldn't ride either of these two boards in the rain. They're not really designed for that. They're designed for using street wheels. Neither of them are designed for using all-terrain wheels. I wouldn't ride them in the rain. It's just way too slippery. Oh, sorry, another thing about water resistance. Exway is like the bottom side is coated with Line X. I don't know if that helps with water resistance, but that just helps with like weatherproofing overall. When it comes to aesthetics, I personally feel that the Exway looks better, and it's not just because I've customized it. Like even if you compare the stock Exway to the stock WowGo, from a distance, I guess they would look kind of similar. But if you look at them up close, the Exway is just very well designed. It's a very refined product. The WowGo 3X, as well as the WowGo 3, is also very well designed. Like it's a major improvement over the WowGo 2 and WowGo 2S. But if you're comparing the two boards side by side, you'll be able to see that the Exway is overall more refined, more polished. Whoever the industrial designer is for Exway, I think that person did a really great job with this board. On the Exway, I think I typically get around like 15, 16 kilometers, sometimes more, sometimes less. On the WowGo, if I remember right, it's closer to 20. I actually had not done a complete range test on the WowGo 3X, meaning ride from a full battery until empty. So I went ahead and did that today. Man, the range was way better than I expected. This is way more range than I expected. This is my max speed right now. It's just gonna get lower and lower now. 16. All right, let's stop. 28.5 kilometers. Jeez. Let me check my watch now. See that? 28.75. Between these two boards, the WowGo does have more battery capacity. So even if you're using the same amount of watt hours per kilometer, you're gonna have more range on the WowGo. So in the end, which board should you get? That's really up to you. I mean, kind of depends on your budget. The WowGo is cheaper than the Exway, but the Exway does have some advanced features that the WowGo doesn't have. In fact, the Exway has advanced features that no other board has. But in the end, you know, I think most people, what they care about is the ride quality. Both of these boards are really good when it comes to ride quality. They're different. One is using a stiff deck, the other is using a flexi deck. I mean, it really comes down to personal preference. If you can get both because they're both really good. If you like to pump on a bouncy board, then of course go for the WowGo. If you like the benefits of a stiff deck, then get the Exway. Again, they're both good. You know, it comes down to personal preference. I think you can't go wrong with either of them. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this video, give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. What's happening over there? Whoa.